Here. So single press meets it. in about 3 minutes. So you have 3 minutes to visit, and then you need to listen. And also, we're monitoring the weather, so we're safe for now, but we'll let you know if that changes.
great. The other half are either hard of hearing or not paying attention. But that's okay. That's not new for us, is it? Thank you so much for being here. For those who don't know me, my name is Hank Doogie, and I have the honor and the privilege of serving as the president of the Republican Network of Galveston County. The Republican Network is the oldest Republican club in Galveston County. That's something we're very proud of. If you are one of our founding members, please stand up and be recognized. They might not be here tonight. That's okay. They might be here in a little bit, and we'll recognize them. At this time, I would like to call up Senator Mays Middleton to do an invocation.
All right, thank you, Hank. What a great room full of patriots we've got here tonight. If you'll please bow your heads and join me in prayer. Heavenly Father, thank you for gathering us here today and blessing our community and our state with this room full of fighters for the future of not just our kids, but our future children and grandchildren. And please give us that grit and that determination that our founders had when they went out on that battlefield on April the 21st, 1836, to fight for our God-granted freedoms. Please also give us the discernment to decide the future of not just this party, but this state as we cast our votes at our Republican Party of Texas convention later this month. And also please place your hedge of protection around everyone here tonight as they go out in the world to go fight for our shared conservative values. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Senator. If at this time our state representative, Dr. Greg Bonin, could come forward and lead us in the pledge to the United States flag, and then Commissioner Darrell Apfel, if you'll come forward and lead us in the Texas pledge.
All right, please join me in the pledge to the United States of America. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And to our Texas flag, greatest state in the Union, honor our Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. And again, thank you everyone for being here. We're excited that so many people have come out to join us, even though the weather is maybe perilous. Hopefully it'll miss us, or hopefully it'll rain and then go away before the event's over tonight. I have a list of elected officials who signed in, but I did not bring the list over here. Our treasurer for the club, Chrissy Cruz, is bringing it over. Thank you, Chrissy. Let's give it up to Chrissy. Thank you, Chrissy. And we have our club vice president, Constable Justin West, over here on the sound. Thank you, Justin. And not a part of our board of directors, but a good friend of the club, your next sheriff, Jimmy Folan, is here with his bar and his drinks. Della Brown and the Clear Creek Republican women are here passing out baked goods. Thank you, Della, for being here. And I'm sure I'll miss some elected officials, but I'm going to go down the list. If you can, give them a hand as I call them out. Commissioner Darrell Apfel. We have Paul Wendt, Paula Smith, Rusty Burkett, Galveston County Consolidated Drainage District, Kay Kovacek, Jason Jones, Jane Elbert, Dorinda Randall, Greg Bonin, Galen Devine, Bo Rollins, just elected to Galveston City Council. Bo, thanks for being here. Commissioner Robin Armstrong, the good doctor, thank you. Judge Kathleen McCumber, Deborah Rowan, precinct chair in Harris County. Donald Zeke, Courtney Chadwell, League City Council, Constable Paul Edinburgh, Constable Justin West, City Councilman and League City Tom Cruz, not that Tom Cruise, it's our own Tom Cruise, and Precinct Chair Brent Palmer. Brent. And I know there's probably some other precinct chairs out there. If you are a precinct chair or an elected official and we didn't recognize you, stand up, and I'd like to celebrate you. Thank you for your service. Thank you. And our party chairman, who was in charge of getting all the elected officials to sign in, didn't put his name on here, but I want to celebrate Dr. Pat McGinnis. Thank you. We also have some candidates with us tonight. Not all of them signed in, but I would like to give them an opportunity to show us that they can project their voice. So if you're a candidate and you're sitting in the audience, please stand up. We'll go one at a time. Tell us who you are and what position you're running for. We don't need to hear the platform today, but we are very interested in hearing it some other time. So any candidates for office? Awesome. Thank you, everybody. And, I wear a couple hats. My other hat is I'm also your Republican nominee for county commissioner. So Jimmy and I both have Democrat opponents in November. So please get out to vote. Tell your friends and family to get out to vote also. At this time, I will read to you the purpose of our club. The purpose of the Republican Network of Galveston County is to educate the citizens of our community in the political process, introduce the voter base to Republican ideals, and provide forums for Republican candidates and elected officials. Tonight we are very thankful that our candidates have traveled from all over the state to be here in SD11 to speak to us directly. One of them, Weston Martinez, is not going to be able to make it tonight. I took his nameplate down, but as much as we'll miss him, it will give the other candidates a little bit more time to speak to you and share a little bit about their vision for our party. So that's enough of me. We're going to go ahead and start the forum by calling the candidates up all together, if you'll find your place at the table. And I'd like to introduce you our moderator today. You know him, you love him. He's a legend in our community, conservative radio talk show host, Jesse Kelly.
Check. All right.
Hank, look at this. Welcome, everybody. I guess let's kick this thing off. Thank you, Hank, for that wonderful introduction of me. I don't know about legend. The real legend is whichever one of you lovely ladies made those snickerdoodles back there in the back. Much appreciated. You're a patriot. Now, let's begin. In fact, let's begin here with Ben. Here's how we're going to handle this in the opening. Every candidate's going to have a 2-minute open. Obviously, this isn't debate time. It's not necessarily a debate anyway, so if you want to throw mud, hold off on the opening, all right? So on the opening, just introduce yourselves. You got 2 minutes. Ben, please take her away.
Well, good evening, everybody. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here. For those of you I haven't yet met. My name is Ben Armenta, and I'm running for chairman of the Republican Party of Texas. You know, I announced that I was running in early February, and when I made that announcement, I had some friends reach out to me, and they said, you know, why are you running? What really needs to change? You know, we have every statewide elected office is a Republican. We have control of the House and the Senate. Everything seems to be pretty good. And I said, well, I think your vantage point is all off. Because from where I stand, the party is effectively broke. We had $300,000 in our general account at the end of the last calendar year. We only have 4 paid staffers. I mean, there are more candidates that have more staffers than that. We have no ground game and operations. The Democrats are continually making headway. And we need a Republican Party that is bold enough to hold its elected officials accountable. You know, the party belongs to the people. It doesn't belong to the elected class. So I got in this race because I believe the Republican Party of Texas has one primary mission. And that mission is to beat the Democrats. We need to retain as many red seats as possible for the next generations. You know, I can't believe I just heard that we got Democrats running in Galveston County. Oh, see, there's always work to be done. Always work to be done. It doesn't matter how red your county is. We need to vanquish the Democrats. They're relentless. We've got to be focused. We have to be disciplined. So I'm the outsider in this race. I am a businessman, had a couple companies, but I serve on the board of Hispanic Republicans of Texas doing outreach all along the Gulf Coast and working with candidates. And there just is this theme everywhere I go, that the state party is absent. If it's not being done by candidates and precinct chairs and county chairs, it's not being done at all. And if we want to win Texas for Donald Trump, and if we want to retain that seat with Senator Cruz, and if we want to get people to vote all the way down ballot, then we've got to get focused on winning. So thank you all very much for allowing me to be here. We're going to share more here over the next little bit. And God bless Texas. God bless Galveston County. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Ben. Mike, please take it away. Mike Garcia.
Howdy, folks. Mike Garcia, running for state chair. Great to be here tonight. Jesse, I thought that was you when I walked in, and I got to say I'm a little bit intimidated now because if you're not a legend in real life, you certainly are on Twitter, where I know you from. But yeah, I am running for state chair. Like I said, I'm from the Rio Grande Valley originally, but for about 20 years I've lived behind the Iron Curtain in the People's Republic of Austin. So say a prayer for me if you can. Met my wife through the pro-life movement 13 years ago. God has blessed us with 4 beautiful children. Our middle child, our third child, has a temper tantrum problem, and he smashed all the TVs in the house last year. So needless to say, we have our 5th child on the way coming. So say some prayers for us. I'm an attorney by trade. Please don't hold that against me. 99% of lawyers give the rest a bad name, after all. But God has blessed me with some wonderful opportunities with my legal degree. I teach constitutional law over at Concordia University in Austin, and I'm able to talk about the biblical underpinnings. Since it's a Christian school, I'm able to talk about the biblical underpinnings of the Constitution, and I don't think you can understand the Constitution without understanding the biblical underpinnings of that document. I believe God's hand was evident in that document. So, and I've also been able to put my legal degree to use by working in legislative politics. I worked with Senator Middleton, there in the back. Senator, thanks for being here. When I was general counsel of the Texas Freedom Caucus, he was the chairman of the caucus at the time. When we did that, we passed constitutional carry, beginnings of election integrity reform, ban on boys and women's sports, ban on DEI and CRT in public schools, at least the start of it. So, love to talk to you more tonight about my vision for chair. But I just want to emphasize, I think as a party, we need to prioritize getting back to God. As a society, being public about it, being unashamed about it. God will guide us if we follow him. So it's great to be here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Abraham George, please.
Yes, sir. I'm Abraham George. Good evening, and thank you for being here. When Hank reached out and said, hey, let's show up in Galveston County, and I said, I'm in Houston a couple days before that. Do I really want to do I need to do that? And he said, I am so glad I decided to show up. Got to see so many wonderful people, so many good friends. As you can tell with my accent, I'm not from Texas. I was born and raised in India to a Pentecostal preacher, and my dad and mom decided they wanted to come to the United States when I was 2 years of age, and they applied for a visa, and it took 14 years to get the whole background processed and got us a visa when I was 16. We came to North Texas, been living there ever since. In 1996 is when I came to the United States. Came the right way, the legal way. I am so proud of that. Today, I'm a small business owner. I'm married to my beautiful wife, 19 years, almost 20 now. I got 2 kids, a 15-year-old daughter and a 10-year-old son. We attend a Baptist church, even though I grew up as a Pentecostal. So my dad is praying for me to come back to Christ. It's going to happen one of these days. So I love being in Republican politics because when Obama ran, the minority communities was expected to support him, and my community talked about supporting him, and I didn't like that. So I started working with the Republican Party in Dallas County and asked me, how do I get involved? How do I push back on this? And ever since then, I got elected to, but 12 years later, I got elected to the county chairman of Republican Party in Collin County, one of the reddest counties we have these days. So I am glad to be here. We've got a vision for the party, and I'd love to share that with you tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Abraham. Dr. Dana Myers told me not to call her doctor, so I swear that'll be the last time. Dana Myers, please.
Thank you all for coming out on a stormy night. I think we're going to have a raffle at the end to see if my voice actually makes it through the whole thing, so bear with me. My name is Dana Myers. Obviously, I'm your vice chair. I'm finishing up almost 2 years of traveling the state extensively, making sure that all the counties that we touch are trained and prepared. One thing that became very obvious when you do travel to all the parts of the state that are keeping us red is that the training was lacking. And so developing training programs for precinct chairs and county chairs, election workers and poll watchers, and making sure that we're prepared for the most important election of our lifetime this coming November has been the utmost concern for me. When I was asked to run for vice chair, I told people my priorities are election integrity, border security, and making sure that our county chairs and our precinct chairs know exactly what they're supposed to do, because that is what keeps us red. Over the past time, having traveled, it's been pretty apparent that we have some real issues with the party, that we need to rebuild this infrastructure, increase the communication across the states, because we have many grassroots organizations that are working really well independently of each other, and they're not coordinating with the party. So one of the things that I've been working on is building those relationships across the state, getting grassroots organization leaders that are ready to build that army as we move into November, to get out the vote, to do voter registration, to volunteer as election workers, because all of that, even though it may not be the most exciting part of the party, it is the most important, because that is how we get our vote out and mobilize our voters. As a person, I am a retired trauma surgeon. I'm a small business owner. Most important title I hold is Aggie Mom. My son's actually, we were up this morning. Yep, thank y'all. Heading up to North Dakota this morning at 4 a.m. so he could make his internship. So a shout out to him. I'm sure he's probably trying to watch too. But I do appreciate everybody being here, and I look forward to the questions.
Of course. All right, I should probably explain the rules before we get going here. They're fairly simple. I'm going to toss a question. I'll just begin here because it's easiest. They get 3 minutes to answer the question. If a name is dropped, so if you guys start chucking tomatoes at each other, that's fine. But if you drop somebody's name, they get 1 minute for rebuttal. So if someone's name gets dropped, there's a 1 minute rebuttal. After that, we're going to move on. It's not that we're pressed for time, but stick within the 3 minutes, because we might end up being pressed for time, being as how we're about to have a tornado and we're going to lose power. All right? All right, so let's actually begin with you, Ben. The role of RPT chair, obviously there's a bunch of different roles there, but fundraising, as you mentioned, is critical. No one likes to talk about money, or people say these stupid things like get money out of politics. Well, that's naive. Money's never going anywhere. We need you to raise a lot of it. How are you going to do it? Is it business leaders, candidates? Is it grassroots? Is it online? What's the plan to fill up the coffers of the RPT?
Yeah, thank you, Jesse. To be honest, it's all of that, and it starts ultimately by being transparent. I give a lot of donations to candidates all around the state and to various groups, but I personally don't give to the Republican Party of Texas at the moment. And it's because when I make a donation, and I hear this from a lot of people around the state too, when I make a donation, I give it to somebody or a group or organization that I believe in, that's going to be a good steward of those dollars. And as a businessman, I look at it as an investment. When I make a donation, I'm expecting something to come on the back end of that. Look, George Soros spent $3 million in Harris County to unseat a DA he put in place there 8 years before. And he spent $2 million down in the Rio Grande Valley to open up permanent Democrat offices. Last time I checked, a billionaire didn't become a billionaire by throwing away his money. He's expecting a return on that investment. And we've got to have that kind of mindset in the Republican Party. And by that I mean the Republican Party leadership has got to be trusted, has got to be honest, and has got to give opportunities for people to give. So right now, we primarily receive donations from about 3 individuals, 3 major donors. There used to be dozens and dozens and dozens of people who would write checks greater of $100,000. And the grassroots would make, monthly donations. We've got to go back to that. But we also need to think about other ways to bring in money. We need to partner as a state with all of the counties. Do fundraising together in every single county. We talk about this party being grassroots, bottom up. Then we have to start by fundraising within the grassroots, by understanding, what are the needs of the precinct chairs and the county chairs? How do they want to use those dollars? And then how do we go engage local businesses in Galveston County and Fort Bend County and Chambers County and every single county to get them involved? Think about any team you've ever been a part of. The teams that you wanted to join or stay with long term are the teams where you felt you had a role and a vested interest and you were appreciated. The same thing goes with fundraising. So we're going to be transparent. We're going to run the party like a business, meaning every single quarter we're going to give very transparent reports on how the money's being spent. We're going to come up with designations so that donors can say, I am passionate about election integrity. Whether I want to write a $5 check or a $5,000 check, or I'm passionate about candidate training, and they can donate to those areas and see how that money's being spent. So thank you, guys.
Yeah, fundraising is definitely probably the number one job of the chair, right? At least that's what all the previous chairs I've talked to have said. You're going to be on the phone all day long asking for money. And if there's one thing I've found in my career is that you don't get it if you don't ask, right? I started fundraising about 20 years ago. I was president of the College Republicans at UT Austin. So if you haven't been paying attention about what's going on over there lately, it's almost the same as it was when I was there. It's probably a little bit worse now. But we were trying to get money for our club during all of that turmoil there. And I remember the first time somebody we wrote us a $1,000 check. And I remember looking at the check and I said, my gosh, this actually works. So you have to ask, right? You have to ask. And I think Ben's right? We need to expand our donorship a little bit. And same thing over my career. I was the director of legislative affairs over at the Texas Public Policy Foundation. Haven't any of y'all ever heard of that group? It's a conservative think tank down in Austin, and they provide all sorts of great information to conservative legislators on passing conservative policy. And they have a whole floor worth of development, right? And all of these people do all day long is they write letters to donors and they make calls to donors. And so through that experience, I was able to get to know a lot of these really big ticket donors, right? Folks that will donate more than $100,000 a month to the party. Same deal when I was running the Texas Freedom Caucus. I was able to to get to know a lot of people with a little bit deeper pockets than you and I. So we have to rely on those people, and I already have those relationships ready to go. I've been talking to them during this campaign. But we can't just focus on the big-ticket donors, right? I think it's important that all of the grassroots, everybody who's a part of the party, has skin in the game, even if it's just $1. One thing I've been asking audiences, you know, I get mail from the Republican Party all the time. Will you donate $250? If I didn't have so many kids, I probably would do that every single month. But I'll tell you, if they said, can you donate just $1? If each person who voted for President Trump in Texas in 2020, 5.3 million voters, donated $1 per month to the Republican Party of Texas, just $12 a year, we'd have $60 million in the bank. And that'd be more than enough to fight George Soros and all of the Democrats and all that they're going to spend. So I think it's a matter of looking at the top, but we also have to look at the folks who are only going to donate a little bit and make sure they have skin in the game, because if you have skin in the game, you're more likely to block walk, you're more likely to actually go vote, right, which is a big problem for Republicans, undervoting, and you're more likely to invest in the party. So that would be part of my plan for fundraising.
Of course.
So the role of the Republican Party chairman is, in my opinion, it is two things. One, get every Republican elected, and two, to push the Republican priorities. And that usually take holding the Republican elected officials accountable to the campaign promises they made. Fundraising is one of the major part of that, because to elect a Republican, it takes money. At this point in our life, I think the people are so excited about actually having good conservative people running. And people are so upset with having the same old politics throughout our nation, not just in Texas. I believe the Republicans in our state, in Harris County, 2.6 million people or something similar to that is registered. Only 46,000 people showed up in a local election. And that's horrible. And there's more Republican than 46,000 people. And the reason why people don't show up to polls anymore is because they believe the party, they hate the Democrat Party because they've gone crazy. And the Republican Party, they think we are complacent at a lot of times. And we've got to have a party with a lot of apparatus that will put good resources to use to get good conservatives elected. And if the parties start to hold people accountable to their promises, to actually move the party legislation and the priorities forward, people will get excited and do something about it. Laura Trump came on board as an RNC chairwoman, removing Ronna McDaniel. In 3 days, they raised over $9 million. And it didn't happen because, they made all the calls or Trump family gave them a bunch of money. It's because people finally thought, oh, God, there's something going to happen with the RNC. And they want to have that excitement that I am part of a team that's going to do something for my country. And that's what I wanted. That's what they wanted to do. People are excited to block walk for a candidate who is actually a conservative Republican. All the moderates have to hire people. And that's the difference. And we need to have that excitement back in our party. And the only way to do that is to hold Republicans accountable. And my whole thing is, if you're going to run as a Republican, wearing our jersey, and talk about Republican principle, and you go put Democrats in committee chairs, you're not my kind of Republican. It's unfortunate that's what is happening in the state of Texas. I am glad Dade Phelan is in a runoff. I really am. I'm glad David Covey is running because we need good conservative people in our Texas House. We need good conservatives in our legislature all over the United States. So the party have to take a stand. I believe the fundraising will happen itself. Thank you.
Waiting for the lights to go off in one big boom. So if you see me looking outside, it's because I'm looking at the lightning strikes. As far as the fundraising goes, it's obviously one of the key functions of the chairman. What my plan is right now is I've already talked to local, state, and federal fundraisers that are professionals to make sure that we augment not only what I would do as chairman, but also the team of fundraisers that we have people invested across the state. When you talk to people about why they don't donate, it's a various reasons. One, they may not like the direction of the party. They may not like the infighting. They may be apathetic and tired of all the fighting across the country. There's lots of reasons. But really the number one reason I hear when I've traveled all over the state now for almost 2 years plus, actually, is that there's no customer service. When they call the office and they can't get someone to answer the phone, or they can't get someone to answer quickly about how do you challenge an election, what do you do during a recount, those are things that the party, again, talking about the infrastructure, why that's all important, it's very key to how we perform as an organization. As fundraising goes, I've suggested and plan to implement actual regional meetings so that we have people that are invested in their areas, get to know the SREC, get to know the surrounding county chairs, work together with the grassroots organizations, and hold events together. There's no reason we can't help augment those skill sets that they already have and bring in the party to help supplement that and give them the bigger space as far as media and things like that that may help them accomplish their tools, and then take a percentage of that, small percentage, to really help them grow their local parties, but also the party itself. One of the things that continues to be an issue we've heard is apathy, and you're seeing it nationally, you're seeing it locally. And I think as we energize the party and we get better at getting out the vote and making sure that our candidates win, people will be more apt to join and participate. The donors, especially, having talked to them now over the past year and a half looking for donations for the party, they also want a chairman as somebody that they can trust, that's going to do exactly what they say they would request with a large sum of money. So if you give $1 million to election integrity, you expect it to go to election integrity. If you give it to Hispanic outreach, you expect it to go to Hispanic outreach. And those are the things that, as a chairman, keeping your word, making sure that you communicate effectively and clearly with our donors is also something, and with respect, is something that I plan to do, and I will yield the rest of my time.
Thank you. Well, as my father once told me, that you really want to be in life either a great example or a terrible example. You don't want to be anything in between. So this next question might get uncomfortable, especially for the people in here, but past chairs. You don't have to name names. You're welcome to if you want. Probably be better ratings for the TV, but what did they do wrong? If they did something wrong, what is it? How are you going to change it? Where have past chairs of this party failed where you will succeed?
Sure. I probably won't name names just because I'm generally a respectful person. But y'all might know who I'm talking about. I think the party was doing well for a time, but then there was a little bit of a dip where it kind of lost touch with the elected class, right? And there was a little bit of a gap between what the party wanted and what the elected class was doing. And so I do think in more recent times the party has gotten better in that regard. I myself, my style is not very heavy-handed. I'm much more likely to come talk to you one-on-one and explain that, if you don't vote the way that the Republican Party is actually wanting you to vote, if you don't vote for our priorities, you don't vote for our platform, it is not. You will probably be censured, but it is not the party that's censuring you. It's really you censuring yourself, right? I think there's a way to do that diplomatically that makes folks understand, because we can't be at war with the elected class, right? These are the people that we need to pass our priorities into law. But we also can't they also can't control the party, right? The party fundamentally is controlled by the delegates at the convention and the grassroots that are involved, like y'all. One thing I think the party has done well in the past is fundraising, right? Now, I was talking to some folks in the back. I'm going to try to time my speech here to the thunderstorm for theatric effect. Yeah. I was talking to some folks in the back who were involved in the party about 20 years ago, and we had a lot of those corporate sponsorships, a lot of more money pouring in, right? We had a lot more people coming to the convention, and there's a lot of different reasons why that might not be happening now. Certainly, I do think we should invite some more corporate sponsorship with the very strict caveat that we are not going to be controlled by corporations, especially Bud Light. Right? Yeah. But we can work together and say, look, Republicans are the party of of business, right? If you look at the Democrat Party, they're not really wanting to go in the way of the free markets, and corporations generally favor the free market. So I think we can get a way back to that, but it does require a little bit of skillful conversation and meetings and diplomacy to an extent. 30 seconds, okay. And then I also think we can get back to raising our attendance at convention, because I'm a little bit worried about attendance with this convention, and there's a lot of different factors there. I think one of the things we can do is not schedule a runoff in the middle of convention. There's a runoff that's occurring 2 days after convention ends, and so many people have told me they want to go to convention and they can't because they're going to be block walking. They're going to be doing what the grassroots are supposed to be doing. So a whole bunch of different things we can do.
So I'm going to name a name, and it's the current chairman. So he's endorsed me. Matt Rinaldi has endorsed me. And I think one of the main things and the positive thing, I think what he's done is he's turned the party more grassroots. He has opened up his resources to go after people who are absolutely against our party. And he will use his bully pulpit to call out legislators at times and say, no, that bill is not good. Don't support it. So I think he's done a great job as the chairman of the party, moving the party to the grassroots. And the reason he endorsed me is I have the same vision. I believe the party needs to be the party of the grassroots. It needs to be. I don't want the party to be in a fight with the elected class. Like I said earlier, our elected officials are the people we elected. So it's our team. We're the cheerleading group on the sideline hoping that they're going to score. My only problem with that is if they're going to play for the other team while wearing the Cowboys jersey and playing for the Eagles, that ain't going to work. So you can't expect me to cheerlead for my team members making a score for the other team. So I believe there is a gap. People say the party is divided. It's not. The party is united. The grassroots are united. There is no confusion among the grassroots. The division is between a group of people who believe the TLR and some of those big donors wanted to control that, and the grassroots are like, no, we're not going to be beholden to that kind of agenda. So the grassroots are united. There is no problem with that. But the elected officials are upset with us sometimes because they're not happy that we're calling them out. And they're going to have to respond to their people in their districts. So that is a problem, but it's a problem, I believe it's worth it. Because at the end of the day, why do we have elected officials? The whole point is they need to move the Republican Party platform and priorities into law. And if they can't do that, they need to run as a Democrat next time and let a conservative run as a Republican. So I believe there is an issue between the elected class and us. But the issue is not created by us. It is created by big donors who get more Republicans elected who will align with their special interests in the agenda. So I believe the Chairman Rinaldi has done a great job of that. Other chairman, Steve Minister, is a good friend of mine. He's done a great job. When he was the chairman, he did what needs to be done for the time. So every time it's different. Like a few years later, you have a different agenda. So our party today needs a new vision, a fighter for the conservative cause, and that's why I'm running. Thank you.
Okay, I'm still timing because now it's green outside. Vision for chairman. We can go back a numerous chairmen. There have been some that have really focused and been very successful on recruiting businesses. There have been some that have been very successful at growing the grassroots across the state. There are some that have been very inspiring speakers and talk about the Constitution and the border, but then they choose to run for a higher office and leave an office early as chairman. There are some that have been excellent administrators, and there have been some that have been really well versed in how to get our legislative priorities passed. It's a little bit of everything, but I would suggest that what we really need is a chairman that can do all of those things and balance out the pull from the grassroots, which is the organization. We are a bottom-up grassroots organization. That is where I came from. That is where my participation in the party started as a local engagement chair, and then moving up to vice chair in Harris County, and then doing more with the women's organization, and then getting drafted into other things, and voter registration, and all those kinds of things. Your chairman also has to be able to bridge the gap between the grassroots organization leaders, which are also a little bit different because they have different parts of the spectrum that they basically not control, but that they grow. And then you have business donors that donate to the party, and then you have some individuals that will donate perhaps some or perhaps millions of dollars. So we actually have to have a message and a plan that's going to accommodate all that spectrum. Because when we talk about the Republican spectrum right now, to make sure that we keep Texas, Texas, and that we make sure that Texas protects the United States, because that's what's at stake, we're going to have to get all those people and all those various groups working together. Doesn't mean that we think united in thought, but it does mean that we unite in purpose. And that is something that the chairman's going to have to do from every part of the state across the entire Republican spectrum. It can be done. Again, I think what we do is we learn from all the good things that the various chairmen have done, fix the things that we think need improvement, and then move on from there.
So, I've chatted with several of the past chairs and have spent some time with them and just asked them to be honest with me. And I think, hindsight is 20/20, and when you look back at many of their times in office, you can see that there was an attempt to really be a jack of all trades for the party instead. And when that happens, you're a master of none. And we get stretched way too thin when we aren't really focused on what one or two primary goals should be. And so you can easily take our resources, our dollars, which are finite, our people, which are very hard to, it's a volunteer organization. It's very hard to get more people to block walk. And, there are often gaps in our election workers and poll workers and watchers, and there's gaps in precinct chairs all across the state. And so we have to get really focused. And when we put all our resources towards beating the Democrats and winning elections for Republicans, I think we're going to hit our sweet spot. But it's going to take not trying a one-size-fits-all strategy across all 254 counties. We're going to have to stop being a chair from behind the computer and travel all around the state. We got to meet with every single chair. We got to meet with the precinct chairs. We got to block walk with them. We have to ask what's working, what's not working, what is it that they need in order to win more elections. It's not always going to be dollars. Sometimes it's just effort and time and energy. So I think focus is critical in the role of a chair, being clear and concise on what it is we're going to work towards. We'll all talk about unity being important. The way that we unify is finding that common objective, that shared outcome that we're all going to work towards. One of us might be really passionate about election integrity, and the other person might be really passionate about working with candidates. But we got to figure out the slice of both of those that helps us achieve winning elections. Rising tide lifts all boats. So if we get stretched too thin, if we aren't, focused on the real threat, which are the Democrats, because they are an unbelievable threat. Their machine and apparatus is significant. And you're probably feeling it here. It's a challenge. So we got to get focused. We got to be disciplined. And if we do that, we're going to win a lot of elections.
Abraham, it's your turn to start out with this one. Get out the vote. Obviously, everyone talks about get out the vote. We talked about block walking already tonight. Get out the vote, get out the vote. Everyone loves to say it, but saying it and doing it are two very different things. It's hard. Not everyone cares like everyone in this room cares. Sadly, we would have a much different country if everyone did. How do you get someone off the couch, turn the game off for an hour, and mobilize, block walk, get out and vote. What is the plan? How do you get those people out?
So I want to talk about a little bit of how I ran my county. I was a former county chair from Collin County Republican Party. And what we did is we looked at the entire county and said, okay, where are our weaknesses? There are some areas in Collin County is 75-80% Republicans. Some areas were minus 23. So we looked at it and we got the data together. It took a little bit of work to get that data put together. Once we had that, we went to we actually also had a CRM software we built in, which anytime someone shows up to the Collin County GOP headquarters, their data is put into it. And with their interests, like if they want to block walk, or if they wanted to phone bank, or if they want to work as an election judge. And when we had a need, which we had almost every week, we would reach out to that group of people and say, hey, you signed up 3 months ago, 8 months ago, and we want you to show up on this day and do this, and here's the training for that. And once we did the training, they were ready to go. They liked it. If somebody didn't like that job, they switched over to something else. So building that apparatus is extremely important for Republican Party of Texas. Because like earlier Ben said, every county is not the same. Collin County, what we have today in Collin County, it may not be what we have in 15 years. Whatever works in Collin County will not work in Harris County because Harris County is twice the size and it's run by Democrats mostly. So we've got to look at each county differently and find out what works for them. The get out the vote part of it, the excitement have to come from the Republican Party and also from the candidates. If you have a mundane candidate, it's hard to get people to show up. I mean, it's just the truth. If you have a Republican Party who is not doing enough and there's no excitement going on, it's hard to get people to show up for a Republican event. That's just the truth. So why does President Trump bring in 100,000 people in New Jersey? Because the way he speaks, the way he wants to get stuff done is just excites people. They show up because of him, not because of RNC. They show up because that candidate is so exciting, and they're hoping he's going to win and get our country back into the place. So our job is, one, first to put the apparatus together. Second, we've got to find good candidates to run. Third, we've got to get people excited for a issue. And if we have Republican candidates and elected officials who will hold true to their promise, to our priorities, to our platform, people will come out and support them. If they're going to say one thing during the campaign and do something else once they get elected, people are not going to show up for them. So it's a combination of many things, and I think the Republican Party should take the lead on that, and hopefully we can.
So get out the vote, in my opinion, starts with education of the precinct chairs and the county chairs because they need to know how to do their job. Once that's done, then the local chair, you can scale this at the local level and you can scale it up to the state level, and this is what we've done in the past that I've been a part of. You can actually develop something called a strike force. So what that is you actually will combine precincts. You can do it at the local level. You'll have multiple precincts that will have walkbooks and data on who they need to go turn out to vote. You register volunteers, and you get them trained so that they know when they're doing block walking or door knocking, how to do those things. You start at that local level, and then you can actually cross over, not only say it's an appraisal district race, you may add the next higher level race. When we did it for the state multiple times now, it was House districts, Senate districts, and congressional districts, and sometimes if it's a presidential race, we include those teams as well. So if you're walking in, say, Galveston County, you're going to have your district, and you're going to have every campaign from bottom up is going to have volunteers that they naturally have gravitate toward their candidate. You combine those with the House district people and their volunteers, and you combine it with the Senate district and the congressional people. So suddenly, it's not two people wandering around lost in a neighborhood because they don't know what to do. There's energy that starts because suddenly you have a bunch of trained people that are going out en masse, identifying with each other, having that energy and knocking on doors and block walking. You supplement that with texting programs and other things, which are easy to do, and the local precinct chairs can learn how to do that. But getting out the vote is not just the mechanics. It's also making sure that our message is delivered in a clear, concise way that inspires people, that they know what we stand for, and how to get involved in the party. Because most of the time when you don't have volunteers, it's because you may not have actually reached out to people directly. All local politics, all politics is local. And those relationships you start building with people locally are the people that are going to show up and volunteer when times are tough and they may be tired. I can tell you, having done this many times now with Republican women, it's usually a phone call. They'll say, what do you need? And then they start helping. And it's those people in those core groups where you add more and more people to and invite people in to participate and learn how to do this, then you'll find that amplifies and makes it much easier.
You know, the future of the Republican Party, it's not us in this room. It's the folks that are out there. How many of you came tonight or have come to a Republican event or activity because somebody invited you? Yeah, of course. That personal connection, asking, spending time with people. Politics is still all about relationships. Our party is all about relationships. You see, the Republican Party right now expects that people come to us. We need to go out there. You know, meeting like this is great. Like, we're like-minded folks. It's a shot in the arm. We, get to share stories, share ideas. But the real work is out there. And people are super busy. You know, the most dangerous person in politics is an uninformed voter. And the vast majority of voters are uninformed. But I've never met somebody who's voted and asked them, do you want to be uninformed? And they say, yes, of course. No, they want to be in the know. They want to be engaged. So we have got to do the majority of our work out there. You know, going back to the prior question around, prior mistakes that chairs have made, we have opened up numerous victory offices and community offices in urban centers and neighborhoods temporarily. You know, you open up 8 or 10 of those all around the state, it's easy to run out of money. And then it closes. How is that being a part of the community? And then they'll get funded by the RNC, and we'll bring in folks from Tennessee or D.C. to staff those, instead of staffing them from people from 3rd Ward or from Harlingen or from the community. So we need to think about a permanent place within our communities. We need to spend time. Now, I believe that Texas values are synonymous with Republican values. But that's the message and the story we've got to be telling out there. We've got to talk about what it means to be Texan, because I believe, and we know, that there are 100,000 people or more who vote for Donald Trump and then drop off ballot and vote Democrat. Those people, most of them, are truly conservatives. They go to church. They care about getting rid of the sexualization in their kids' schools. They, want to start a business and not have government all reaching into their pockets. They care about a lot of the same things we care about. But we're not meeting them where they're at. So if we want to grow our party, we want to get out the vote, we've got to go do politics in the neighborhood, spend time with people, establish a relationship. I can't tell you how many candidates I have voted for who have knocked on my door and taken 10 minutes to talk with my wife and I. And I'm sure it's the same for all of y'all. So the more that we get our candidates to do the work before they're elected and meet people in their day-to-day lives, the more we're going to win.
I think all of these are good answers. But I think primarily the thing that gets people out to vote historically is understanding what we're up against. I think if most people understood the depths of the evilness that the Democrat Party is pushing, and I'm not sure they even do it intentionally, but pushing things like communism, which has killed 100 million people over the last century, it leads to terror and it leads to horror, And when people actually realize that, they come out and vote. Look at the Tea Party, right? They came out of Obama, right, coming out and pushing his socialist agenda. Look at the Moms for Liberty that have come out recently. They're responding to something in our society. I'll tell you a quick story. In 2017, I was chief of staff for a member of the Freedom Caucus. And back then in 2017, we were talking about the bathroom bill, right? I always called it the women's privacy bill because it's a more dignified title. But you know, it's this bill that would keep men out of women's restrooms, which we still need to pass in Texas, by the way. I was shopping it around to some more moderate Republican offices because we needed their support to get the bill to the floor. And a lot of folks were offended. I was talking to staff and members, and they said, this is offensive, and you're going to drive people away from our party with bills like this. And I said, folks, this bill is not about bathrooms primarily. This is about saving Western civilization. And they all looked at me like I was crazy. Within 2 years, we weren't talking about bathrooms anymore. We were, and I want to censor myself here because we have children, but we were talking about the mutilation of children within 2 years. That's how quick it happened, right? And a lot of people don't realize how quick this is happening until it hits you right in the face. It happened to me personally. I'll tell you another story. Late one night, I was working at the Capitol. This was in the 21 session. I walked into Senator Middleton's office, and we had the Senate on, which is unusual because the House doesn't watch the Senate, and the Senate doesn't watch the House. They fight, right? But I think it's a total God thing because they happened to have this Senate hearing on, and it was for the Senate hearing to ban the child gender modification practices in Texas. And someone was testifying, and I kind of recognized the voice, and they were testifying against the bill. They were saying, I have a 6-year-old son, and he is transitioning to be a woman, to be a girl. A horrible story, but I recognized the voice, and the camera panned over to the person, and I recognized the person, and I was like, how do I know this person? And then it hit me. This was the person that I was leaving my children with every single morning for daycare. Yeah. And my wife and I were kind of on the edge about homeschool at the time. I sent her that video, and needless to say, we homeschool the kids now. We got them out of that quick, but you never know who you're dealing with. And if people really understood that, they would come out and vote. Nothing could stop them from coming to the polls if they knew exactly what they were up against. And I think we need to do a better job of telling people that.
All right, this is going to be our last question because of time. This is not your closing statement, which you'll get time for, but this is the last question. We'll obviously begin with Dana because it's her turn to start. Why you? There's obviously 4 great candidates up here. What makes your skill set, your background, why you over the others? Why should a delegate pick you to lead the RPT instead of someone else?
When I discussed this with everybody about why I'm running, I was basically asked to do this by many grassroots organizations as well as Republican foundations because I have been doing this for multiple years. The various parts of the party job as chairman, as far as making sure that our precinct chairs and our county chairs know what they're supposed to do, to make sure that our election workers know what they're supposed to do, and have poll watchers and understand election integrity and get out the vote, and all these mechanical things that we're talking about. Those are things that I've done for years, not only as the person on the ground starting there as well as engagement, but also in leadership positions. And that coordinates with also the professional fundraising I've had to do in my real life job, which I'll just touch on briefly. That's been a question as far as what the party needs to do for fundraising. I've done that for my real job, which is medical engineering and building construction, as far as surgery centers and mechanical saline bag plants and those kinds of things. Those are all capital raises, which essentially translate into what we have to do for the party. What we need to do, though, that I remind people, is in 5 months after this convention is over, we are going to have to mount the largest Republican army of volunteers and grassroots organizations in this state to make sure that we get out the vote for President Trump and Senator Cruz. It is not time to have someone learn on the job for the first time ever on how to do these various roles. My differentiation is I've been doing these roles now for many years. I do have the skill sets. I already have the relationships built across the state because I have been traveling for almost 2 years plus doing that, as well as the grassroots leadership and the donors. So we're ready to go day one. I have a strategic plan of a 1 week, 30-day, 5 months, and 2-year strategic plan of what we need to do to build this party and get out the vote. As far as other things, I'm sure that these gentlemen are all very conservative. I have no doubt about that. It's not at this point about who is a conservative. It's about who has the skill sets to make sure that Texas is protected and that we don't lose our 40 electoral votes that are the only pathway to a Republican presidency in November.
As I mentioned in my opening, I'm the outsider here. I'm not from Austin. I don't work in the legislature. I don't. I'm not on the SREC. All those jobs and roles are important. They are important. Everybody in this room has a role to play in ensuring our success. But somebody needs to look at this a little differently. Somebody needs to bring fresh ideas, a fresh plan. We talk about unifying the party. Somebody needs to not be beholden to the elected class or the donor class. And that's me. That's who I am. I've been working all across the state to be a connector, to work with party chairs and precinct chairs, bring them new ideas, share with them what I'm learning, working hard, rolling up my sleeves, coaching candidates, guiding them on ideas and way to connect with the voters. That's the role of the chair. We need to win. That has to be our vision. That has to be our plan. And we can do that. Senator Cruz, that last election 6 years ago, he won that by only 2.5 percentage points. And that was against Beto, who's an absolute clown. Absolute clown. And this time around, his opponent is way more formidable. Colin Allred, not only is he from Texas and positions himself as a moderate, which he is not, but he has a track record of success. He took a 20-year incumbent seat in Dallas, congressional seat, and flipped it from red to blue. The Democrats know that he is a proven winner. So if we're going to do the job right in the next 6 months and do the job right in the next 6 years, we have got to be looking at things differently. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different result. So I've got a lot of bold ideas. I asked that everybody go to my website, benarmenta.com, to learn more about my fundraising strategy, my plan to get out the vote. We're going to do some really amazing things. But again, the number one thing that differentiates me from everybody up here is that I'm the outsider, and the only people I'm beholden to are Texans.
The job of the party and the party chair is to recruit good candidates, fundraise like you've never fundraised before, right? Win in November, right? Make sure President Trump gets more votes than any president's ever gotten in the state of Texas. And thank you, Ben, for reminding us of Senator Cruz's opponent's name, Colin Allred. His last name is my goal as your party chair, Allred, right? But the thing I think that differentiates me the most is that I do have that legislative experience, and I have a lot of it, right? I've helped. I told you the bills that I helped pass at the beginning of our time here, right? Constitutional carry. I know how to look at an election integrity bill and tell you if it has problems or not, because if you haven't been watching, these priority bills of ours get to the floor, particularly in the House, and they're riddled with points of order. And then all of a sudden they go down on points of order, right? And there's some rules changes that people are talking about that I think we can implement. But at the end of the day, if you don't scrub your bill and make sure that it's point of order proof, it's going to die. I think our party chair should have at least a little bit of experience in that regard, right? And I would primarily unleash the SREC, right, to do their job, to help pass the legislative priorities. And they've been doing a good job of that, and they can do a better job of that. There's always room for improvement. But I would never sign off to the extent that I have control over it, allowing a bill to get to the floor without it having a few pairs of eyes, making sure that it's not going to die on a point of order. So that would be really what distinguishes me from my colleagues. I can do that. I can do it quick, and I can do it without having to spend $10,000. I've heard that number floated around for scrubbing a bill. I would do it for free and save the party a whole bunch of money. So
the chairman's job, there's only one guy, right? So the chairman's job is not really to make the sausage, because if you get into the intricacies of that, it will never work properly. His job is to get the ingredients, get the money so we can have the ingredients available, and get the machines together and get the workers together and get it together so he can. His job is to make sure the operation runs smooth and perfect. Nobody starts a business so we can have a payroll department. That's not the goal of a business. We do it because that's important. We gotta pay our employees. So the goal is not to fundraise. That's a given. That's part of the job. You gotta fundraise. But the goal is to push the Republican priorities and platform to the next level, that we actually get it done. I'm the only person who is on this race that I can say raised $700,000 some dollars for the Republican Party in the last couple of years. I did that as a county chair. I'm the only person who can say I've not only elected Republicans, worked hard, block walked personally, and that's another thing. If the chairman of the party shows up to block walk, the precinct chairs kind of feel bad. They don't show up. So you do it by example, and not only getting them elected, actually hold them accountable. When our Texas House went after Ken Paxton and impeached him, while our border is wide open, while we didn't have the taxpayer-funded lobbying banned, while our school choice was not properly being discussed, while every conservative bill was getting slammed by point of orders by Democrats, when we have Democratic committee chairs, they went and impeached him. By the way, he has endorsed me in this race. And I held a rally as a county chairman at the county courthouse and said, we're going to hold these people accountable. And we did. We primaried every one of them. And it's a bad idea sometimes, it's a good idea sometimes, but the message we sent to the calling county is the Republican Party is not for sale. It's the party of the people, and that's what we need to send. That message needs to go out to the entire state of Texas, saying the Republican Party belongs to the people. The name belongs to the people. And if you're going to run as a Republican, your job is to push the Republican Party platform and priorities. If you're not going to do it, the party will hold you accountable. So the chairman's job is to sell the principles, sell the platform, and he has to do everything possibly he can do that to make sure that happens. And that's what changes. That's the difference between me and my counterparts, who are wonderful people. Got to know all of them in the last few weeks. So I want to take the party to the party of people, not the elected class. Thank you.
It's actually back to Ben. We have reached the closing statement portion of the show. This is obviously it. Not 3 minutes, 2 minutes. So do the best you can not to be a politician and keep it to 2 minutes.
Brevity is key. Yeah, I understand. Again, thank you guys for braving the weather and coming out and having all of us here. You know, the Democrats nationally are out fundraising the Republicans 6-1 right now. 6-1. This last nonpartisan election cycle, the one we just had the last couple of weeks, the Republican Party of Texas endorsed in 27 races. 27 all across the state. And we won 8 of those. 8 of them. All things being equal, head-to-head with the Democrats, we lose. And we know that they're putting their thumb on the scale. But I do want to share with you a story of hope. About a month and a half or so ago, my kids go to KDISD, and the Senate Bill 763, which is the chaplain bill, was being discussed at the school board. So I went and spoke. And, excuse me. And there were 18 people that spoke, and only one, me, spoke in favor of the school board affirming that bill. Well, the next week was the week that they were going to vote on it, and there was about 40 people that spoke. And you know the Democrats, they turn out a ton of people, right? Well, 10 of them were in favor of that bill, but 4 of them were high school students. And one of them wrote me an email, and she said that she spoke because she heard me the week before. It's a shame that you have to be courageous to be a conservative in Texas. We just need to lead the way. We need to do Republican work out there, door to door, meet the people where they are at. We've got to be focused and disciplined on all those things that will enable the precinct chairs to be successful, like fundraising, partnering with them, making sure they've got the data. It's time that we put an outsider, somebody who has a different perspective, in the role of chairman. So again, my name is Ben Armenta. I graciously ask for your vote in San Antonio next week. God bless you guys, and hope everybody drives safe home. Thank you all very much.
Folks, in closing, I just want to emphasize, in my career, I've been director of legislative affairs at the Texas Public Policy Foundation. I was director of the Freedom Caucus. I was chief of staff in the Senate. And now I run a probate law practice, right, where I interact with people at some of the saddest points in their lives. And in all of these positions, I've had to have very tough conversations with folks. And I've, especially in the legislative position, sometimes they get to shouting matches, right? But I'm still friends with all these folks, right? Because we respected each other, right? We've all gotten in a room and we said we disagree, but the Democrats are the real enemy, and we need to get together and we need to make a plan and we need to stick to that plan, and then we need to win in November, right? Or win in the committee hearing, right? And I think respect is key. I think civility is something that our society is generally lacking at the moment. And I think we need to remember that we are children of God, and we call ourselves Christians, right? And we have to remember to follow God. We can't water down our party because we're afraid of sticking to God, right? Young folks aren't attracted to that. Older folks aren't attracted to that. Nobody's attracted to that, right? We can't grow the Republican Party by becoming Democrats in the process. I've worked with young people for a long time. I've been endorsed by the Young Conservatives of Texas. I've been endorsed by Texas Right to Life. That was one of the honors of my life. Been endorsed by Senator Middleton. I don't know if he's still here, but huge honor. I loved working with him when we were together in the Freedom Caucus. So I just want to emphasize that we can't be afraid to stand up for what we believe. And we have to trust that God is going to give us the strength and the knowledge and the fortitude and the wisdom to be able to convince people who are a little bit wary about what we believe. He's going to give us what we need in order to convince them that we're right. But he's not going to give it to us if we abandon him. So we can't do that. We need to hold the line on that, especially now. Mike Garcia, you can learn more about me at GarciaForTexasGOP.com, and my cell phone number, for those of you all that want it, area code 512-645-6978. Mike Garcia. I would appreciate your vote at convention. We'll have a booth. Come say hi. Thank you, folks.
Thank you for being here. Thanks for showing up in this weather. I just got a text from a friend of mine who lives in Houston saying it's about 800,000 homes don't have power. Hopefully when you get home, you all have power. And the truth is, the Republican Party is at a place where we have to make a choice. Do we want a party that does galas and a little bit of fundraising and give awards out and pat each other in the back and just feel great? Or do we want a party that will put together an apparatus that's going to elect not only every Republican on the ballot, but also get involved in local races, that gets some Republicans elected in counties that are blue? Put some resources behind that. Do we want a party that not only elect Republicans, but hold them accountable to the promises they made? Do we want a party that will go to all the inner cities and say, your values are similar to ours? The Democrats have left you long time ago, and you need to join the Republican Party. Do we want a party that will grow in a way, such a way without watering down our principles, our party platform? So that's the difference so everyone wants to be nice, and I get that. But politics, in my opinion, is a contact sport. You got to do what you got to do, because 30 years from now, 40 years from now, we're not going to be around. All's going to left is what we did to hold the line and what our children and our grandchildren will know about us. The work we did is all it's going to be left. And I wanted to work and build upon what Matt Rinaldi and other former chairmen have done. Great fundraising, putting great apparatus together so we can actually get good Republicans elected and have our priorities and platform moving forward. You can reach out to me. I know so many of you are taking notes. I want to give you my cell phone number. It is 469-569-0273. That's my personal cell phone number. And you can go to abrahamgeorge.com to learn more about me. We'll have some videos coming up and things like that on specific items. Would love to have your support in San Antonio, and look forward to seeing every one of you. Thank you. God bless you all.
Hopefully we're clapping because we're almost done. Thank you all for surviving this. So as I've said, my name is Dana Myers, and I'm your current vice chair. I have spent the past almost 2 years traveling the state extensively, talking to the local grassroots, the county chairs and the precinct chairs, and the people that live there, finding out what we need to do to protect Texas. As you know, probably the Texas Partisan Index, for the state of Texas is 54%, which means we're 4 percentage points away from the Democrats. So when we're talking about why the infrastructure for the party is important, this is what protects our votes, this is what protects our demographics, this is how we protect redistricting in the future, census, all those kinds of things. If we do not build the infrastructure, because right now, folks, there isn't one. There's been a lot of things built that were successful, but the infrastructure to get out the vote, make sure that our county chairs, our precinct chairs know what they're supposed to do, and to run elections, which is probably one of the most important things that we're going to need to do, and do with election integrity, of course, is not there. This time, last major election, we had 8,000 poll watchers. We're now at about 1,500 that the RNC, one person, has been training, and then some of the other election integrity groups have added, we've added I think 500 or 600 people. A couple other groups have done 500. So maybe we're up to 2,500, and I haven't talked with her recently to see where we stand on that. For a state this size that is this important, with the 40 electoral votes I keep going back to, for the presidency and for Senator Cruz, we're going to have to build a massive machine very quickly. We talk about everyone being nice and everything. I'll tell you what, folks, we're going into an election that we're going to have to be built for war. The Democrats are coming after us. It took us, for Greg Abbott's race, it took to the 34th largest county in this state before he actually started overcoming the Democrat vote. So that red rural wall that we've been talking about and engaging with and training, they're important. Your area is important. Every area across the state is going to need to be prepared and well equipped, have data, and have training so that we know what we need to do come November. As I've said before, I've done all these jobs. I look forward to working with everyone, and I look forward to answering any questions after here. Again, Dr. Dana 4, number 4, tx.com has got a lot of my information that I've written down personally about the jobs I've held before and the things that I've done so we can save some time. But I appreciate everybody being here. I know it's terrible weather, but I would humbly ask for your vote. This is not something that we can play at. This is not something that we can try to learn quickly. We're going to have to know what we're doing come November. Thank you all.
Ladies and gentlemen, I know you just did it, but if you don't mind, another round of applause for these candidates. They came from all over the place. And before I hand this microphone back to Hank, I have to do two things. I have to lower it considerably, and in all seriousness, I do want to thank you for being here. The apathy in this country absolutely makes me want to choke somebody. It's a dark Thursday night with tornado conditions, and you care enough about your country to come up and sit down and listen to all this stuff, and it's a credit to you, honestly. Thank you all so much.
And let's give it up to our moderator, Jesse Kelly. Jesse, thank you. And Jesse, what is the best way to tune into your show? And Everywhere. Just Google Jesse Kelly and...
No, it's on 950 KPRC here, and that's the local affiliate here.
Okay, 950 KPRC. Awesome. Well, thank you for giving us your time tonight. We really appreciate it. And Constable Justin West and I were debating whether we should put a stepping stool over here so I could just go up to the microphone. And we decided it'd be easier to just lower and raise the microphone. So, again, thank you to our candidates. We're giving you a little bit of time back. So if you'd like to do some networking now in the next 15 minutes, I'm sure the candidates wouldn't mind you all swarming them at once. I'm sure it's happened everywhere you've gone. A couple last shout-outs. I would be remiss if I didn't tell you that Clear Life Media has been recording this whole forum tonight. It's on their channel. Go to Clear Life Media on Facebook. Our good friend Kurt Casper is a big proponent of local events, and we're thankful for him. We're thankful for Jimmy Fullen setting up his beverage station tonight. We're thankful for the Republican women. Della, thank you so much. If there's any food left, please take it before you go. And to all of our grassroots activists who cared and are here above everyone else, thank you so much for your time tonight. This meeting is adjourned.